Samsung's Galaxy S24 series, including the Plus and the Ultra models, has been out for about 12 months now, and for a lot of that time it's been seen as the de facto Android choice. In fact, you could say that about Samsung itself for the past few years. But with the S25 series about to launch, you might be wondering, should you bother buying any of these older models now and save money in the process, or wait until the S25 models come out? I'm Cam Bunton, this is Trusted Reviews, and in this video I'm going to go over what we're expecting from the S25 series, give you some thoughts of my experience of the S24 Ultra after 12 months, including how the Ultra has held up over that time. But before deciding on whether you should buy an S24 series model now, let's go over what we're expecting from the next generation. As a whole, speaking broad strokes, it's another year of iterative changes, but there are some details worth looking at, specifically around the rumour of design changes and some rumblings about a pretty big change on the inside when it comes to processors in different markets. But first up, we have to talk about the tweaked design on the S25 Ultra, or at least what's been rumoured. Because if there's any complaint I've had about the S24 Ultra over the past year, it's those square corners. They look fantastic and ensure that the phone looks unique, but they can get pretty uncomfortable when digging into the part. Samsung looks set to change that. Leaked images and videos show a device that still looks unmistakably like the S series Ultra phone, but with the corners rounded off. So while some of the phone's capabilities may not change massively, actually holding it and using it should. But in typical Samsung fashion, with one hand they giveth, and with the other hand they take away. Because it looks like to make those rounded corners happen, they're also getting rid of the rounded edges and making those flat. So the corners won't hurt when they press into your palm, but the edges being flat and right angled against the front of the phone will mean gripping the sides won't be quite as comfy. With that said, by removing those rounded edges and making the bezels even skinnier than before, the phone is actually going to be a little bit smaller than the last one. And that's without losing any screen real estate. In fact, the screen size is supposedly going up. It's rumoured it'll be 6.86 inches, up from 6.79 inches on the current model, while reducing the phone width by about 1.5 millimeters. Quite small numbers, I know, but unlike Apple, who made its Pro Max model even bigger this year, Samsung is bucking that trend and going in the other direction. As for the regular and the Plus versions of the S25, there's not a huge amount to note here. Very much an iterative change. The design looks almost identical apart from the redesigned camera rings on the back, and again making the phone slightly smaller with skinnier bezels. As for other specs and details, there are a couple of suggestions going around. Unlike this year, it seems that Exynos chipsets aren't going to be on any of the next series of models. Ice Universe, a prolific and fairly reliable leaker on Twitter, says Snapdragon 8 Elite chips will be used in all of Samsung's next-gen models across all markets. And if that's the case, it should be well worth waiting for those instead of using the current Exynos models in Europe. Despite the fact that the Exynos chipsets from the current models are actually pretty good, they're still not quite as performative as the Snapdragon versions. And they're not as efficient when it comes to handling battery use. But there is some disagreement on this particular rumour, because other rumours suggest that instead of having Exynos chips in the markets like Europe and other places apart from the US and North America, MediaTek Dimensity 9400 chipsets will be used, effectively picking up from where the Exynos-powered models left off and replacing the Samsung-made processors. Whichever rumours are correct, it doesn't sound like Exynos is making a comeback at all in 2025, which again could be a reason for you to wait until the S25 models come out, because you will be getting a much more powerful phone. Other details leave little room for anticipation, because it sounds like, except for an ultra-wide camera upgrade, the cameras on the next generation models will be largely the same as the current ones. And that means apart from the tweaked designs and the upgraded chipsets, there's nothing significantly different to what's on the market right now. And it's claimed that they'll cost more too, thanks to that Snapdragon 8 Elite processor. The series is expected to launch around January 22nd or the 23rd next year. Now, I wanted to go over software because when the new models launch next year, they'll be running One UI 7 based on Android 15, and I've already got that software running in beta form on my Galaxy S24 Ultra. And since so many features are determined by the software on the phones and not necessarily the hardware, there's an argument that the next phones will largely work in very similar ways. In fact, just the software update alone will make having this update feel like owning a new phone. So it's worth remembering that even if you do save money and get the Galaxy S24 series series models now, you won't have to wait long until you're running the same software that's going to launch on the S25 series phones. You might need to wait a little while before it's available as a publicly official release, but Samsung's generally pretty good at rolling these out to recent flagship phones. With this update, Samsung's addressed some pain points I've complained about for years, chiefly changing the scrolling direction of the app drawer, so that when you swipe up to access it, you can continue scrolling in the same direction to browse through it, and not, nonsensically, be forced to swipe multiple times in a different direction. Other changes see Samsung's software slot into a similar train of thought as software we've seen from Oppo, OnePlus, Xiaomi and Apple. So you split your quick settings and control toggles from your notifications. It's optional, so if you hate it and just want one swipe down gesture for both, you can have it. There's also a new app icon and widget customization choices, plus my favourite, large home screen app folders. It's really handy being able to cluster apps together in a folder and still be able to launch them without having to open the folder first. And as well as that, there's a redesigned multitasking recent apps view that cascades app thumbnails in a more Rolodex style view rather than having them individually previewed. There's also something called the Now bar, which shows a small live updating widget for things like charging level and music playback and timer progress and more. Sadly, no third-party integration exists yet for Uber or sports updates or anything like that. Similarly, there's live notifications, which does similar but in the status bar. Tap it and you'll get a tab widget at the top of your home screen with the progress shown of your timer or countdown or whatever. Other updates include redesigned battery icons and charging animations and graphics, plus, like iOS 18 on iPhone, the ability to be more granular about the charging limit, so you can set it to charge to 80 or 85% and no further. But let's move on and talk about how the S24 series has held up over the past 12 months, and like I said, the S24 Ultra has been the one that I've used the most, like a daily driver for a lot of this past 12 months. Samsung talked a big game about its Gorilla Glass armor, and to this day it's still the best screen recovering in terms of getting rid of reflections and glare. It's fantastic, and has been generally brilliant in the summer months on the odd days when the sun was actually bright, bouncing off the glass. It's strong, although it's not completely scratch resistant. I think I dropped it a few times and accidentally threw it in a pocket with coins or keys at least once. And of course, using the phone pressed against my ear, it is going to scratch against my metal earrings. You can see if you look closely at the surface, it's not completely blemish free. It's got some small fine scratches, but also perhaps because of the different way its surface has been coated for that anti-glare property, what would normally be tiny fine scratches are more like grazes and scrapes. So that's something that was a little disappointing. Still, there are no cracks. Despite having been dropped and considering I've not had a screen protector on it at all, it's held up pretty well. On a similar note, I've also found that when it gets fingerprint smudges on it, they take a little more effort to clean off than they would on a shinier, glossy glass display. Performance is still up there with the best of them, delivering fast, smooth gameplay when I need it, and the cameras similarly are consistently strong. They're not the best on the market, and I'm still not a big fan of how Samsung processes colors and oversaturates the blues and the greens, but when it comes to consistency and knowing what I'm going to get from the main ultrawide and zoom, I'm still happy to pick it up and take it out and use it as my camera. Although arguably, I think if I was picking one phone as my camera phone, it would be the Pixel 9 Pro. And there are also some competitive camera phones coming to the market from the likes of Oppo and Vivo. In the end, in terms of how strong this phone still is and what we're expecting from the S25 series, there's probably only one real reason to wait for the next model phone, and that's the Snapdragon 8 Elite. In terms of a performance jump, it's arguably the biggest we've seen from one generation of Snapdragon to the next. It's really fast and much more powerful in terms of graphics processing and enables some pretty impressive camera capabilities, like the ability to shoot 8K video at 60 frames per second. Despite that, for what most people use their phones for, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and the S24 Ultra hasn't suddenly become a bad chipset overnight. It's fast, it's efficient, and given that you should now be able to find the S24 models at a lower price than it was at launch, it's probably the best time to buy them, especially with Samsung having committed to keeping them updated for 7 years. If what you use for is casual social media, gaming and the odd photo on your night out, the S25 won't massively improve on that experience, and it will cost you a lot more to get it. So let me know what you think. Are you going to buy the old one now, save some money, or wait until the S25 comes out next year? I've been Cam at @CamBunton on social media. I'll leave my BlueSky link down below so you can get in touch with me there if you want to. If you did like this video, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe and tap that notification bell, and I'll see you again in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.